All right, so it is 2 o'clock in the morning, and I know I will not be able to go to sleep until I ultimately do this. My mind just will not let me sleep until I get my thoughts out. So I'm going to take this time to really talk about the Baltimore Ravens in terms of this game and really speak about who they are. So I want to start with this statement. I've called the Ravens a lot of things, and so has many of us in the fan base. I've called them fraudulent. I've said they're a disgrace to football. I've called them trash. I said this defense is an embarrassment to their predecessors. I've even called the Baltimore Ravens snake oil because you should never buy into them. And it's really funny because the media, they're starting to change their opinion. I just saw Ryan Clark immediately say, "I take back my Super Bowl pick with the Ravens because they don't look like that." And I would have told him to not pick us in the first place because this is not a team you should ever trust. And it's really unfortunate that you have all this talent and you don't know what to do with it and you're losing games against top tier teams when you should be able to operate like a team. But that's the biggest problem with the Baltimore Ravens. And I think that is the biggest issue that needs to be addressed. Let me tell you, I've called the Ravens a lot of names, but I've never said this before. And I feel like it's finally time to say it because this is what they look like. The Baltimore Ravens are not a football team. No matter what you want to say, no matter how you want to cut it, this is not a football team. What we have here is a collective group of talented individuals that for some reason can't seem to get on the same page. They have no idea how to effectively work as a unit. They have no clue what they're doing out there. Um The performance tonight by the Baltimore Ravens was nothing short of disgraceful. It was nothing short of embarrassing. But most importantly, it was a display of everything that is just not Ravens football. And what I mean by that, as messy as that sounds, is that the Baltimore Ravens we saw tonight, specifically defensively, that's not a Ravens defense. You can't claim to be a Ravens defense and you play like this. Everything they did out there tonight was the complete opposite of what this franchise has been built on. You can't call this sorry excuse of a defense a Ravens defense because that's not what they are. They're a group of talented individuals that have no idea what they're doing out there because they can't seem to communicate. They can't seem to work together as a unit. They don't know what they're doing. They're not competent. The Ravens have not given up a 95 plus yard touchdown drive since 2001. This so called Ravens defense tonight gave up two 95 plus yard touchdown drives. They allowed the Detroit Lions to come into their house and bully them left and right. The Detroit Lions looked more like the Baltimore Ravens than the Baltimore Ravens looked like themselves. Like it's so pathetic. The Detroit Lions tonight rushed for 224 yards. So not only did this sorry excuse of a defense give up two 95 plus yard drives, they also gave up over 200 rushing yards. Now, I understand that we are missing Namdi Matabike and Kyle Van Noy. So that is going to be an outlet that affects you. But we need to be honest. If those two players are the difference between us looking competent as a run defense and us giving up 200 plus yards on the ground, then they deserve a lot more money than they're getting paid. I did not realize just how valuable Nandi Matabike and Kyle Van Noy are because those two were out and this defense looked beyond incompetable. The Ravens defense, they couldn't stop the run. The Ravens defense, They couldn't stop the pass. The Ravens defense, they couldn't get off the field on third down. The Ravens defense, they couldn't get to the quarterback. 0 sacks in this game for the Ravens' so-called pass rush. They didn't touch Goff once. So you got a defense that failed to sack the quarterback. 0 sacks. You've got a defense that gave up 2 95-plus yard touchdown drives. You've got a defense that gave up over 200 yards rushing. This is not a Ravens defense. And this so-called team is not a real football team. Because a football team should be able to work together. A football team should be able to communicate and operate, especially when you have this amount of talent. When you are not really talented as a team, I can understand when you guys aren't on the same page, you can't communicate, and you're getting beat like that. Bad teams are there. But you can't have the amount of talent Baltimore has and look this bad defensively. They have all this talent on the defense, yet they look like arguably the worst defense in the National Football League. How does that happen? Well, you've got a group of individuals that I'm not fully sure are focused on the goal of winning and locked in. I feel like we can go more into that because we could speak on certain players that have their podcasts or certain players that have their own shows or doing their own things and doesn't really look like they're locking in like that. We could call out names, but I don't feel like that's the central issue. It's certainly an issue because if you're going to have a podcast or you're going to be doing all this other stuff and recording yourself and making these videos and episodes, that's cool, but you've got to deliver on the field. See, if you're seen as a great player and you're out there doing this stuff and doing your show and stuff, then you've got to back it up on the field or you got to back it up on the court or wherever you're playing. You can't just be doing that and then you come out here and you don't do your job on the field. That's where things become problematic. And that is the quickest way for a fan base to turn on a player. Because now we question whether or not you're really focused on helping this team win. You're really focused on the goal of winning. But that's beside the point. The players themselves are an issue. Before I get into the bigger issue, the players themselves are an issue. I've been saying this for a while now. These guys are embarrassing themselves. They are a disgrace. Their predecessors are watching this in disgust. Last week on The Wired, you had Ray Lewis telling Roquan Smith, hey, Hunter's got to hunt. He telling him all about that. And he had to emphasize 60 minutes this time. Ray Lewis was not there to have to motivate Roquan Smith. And we saw Roquan Smith be what he's been when Ray Lewis is not behind him, whispering in his ears, hey, you got to do your job. But it's not like Roquan was the only problem here. Because, nobody on the defense was necessarily doing well. And even if you had guys that were doing well, like Kyle Hamilton, one person isn't enough to erase everything. And even though you had another great guy in Nate Wiggins, the defense as a whole just couldn't stop as a unit. Because you can have great players doing their jobs, but if the defense can't work as a unit together, you're going to collapse because the quarterback is just going to target areas that he can win. When he's getting winning matchups, it's going to be easy to just target there. Why would I really look to try to consistently test Kyle Hamilton when I can throw towards the other side? The players themselves, again, they play on the field. And despite how much I want to get on these other individuals, which we will talk about, there's 2 individuals to discuss. But as much as I want to get on those guys, these players are the ones that step foot on the field. They're the ones playing the game. They're the ones with all that talent, and yet none of them can seem to get it together and come together as a unit. It's truly sad. And I just sit here and think to myself, y'all have all the talent in the world, and y'all are playing so sorry. Do you not have any pride? You're wearing the Ravens colors. When you wear those colors, the defense is what represents this organization. This used to be a city. This used to be an organization, a fan base that could stand tall and proud of what their defense was doing. This franchise was built on defense. Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Terrell Suggs, a Hall of Fame defense that established what it meant to be great defensively. And this current generation of quote unquote Ravens defenders have done everything in their power to disgrace the name of the Ravens defense. They've done everything in their power to erase the fear factor that people used to have when facing Baltimore. There's not an ounce of that left. Nobody's scared of this team. Nobody's afraid to play these guys. You go up to Baltimore, you're happy to play them. Why? Because you know your offense can eat against that defense. There's not an ounce of a fear factor there. You see, those guys back in the day, they didn't really talk. They let their actions speak for themselves. And when they did talk, they 100% backed it up on the football field. But this era of Ravens players, all they do is talk. Ain't no backup in the field. All I'm hearing from these defenders is the same old story, making excuses. We got to be better. We're not executing. All this talk, but it's not being backed up on the football field. Y'all don't have any pride. You wear the Ravens colors. You claim to be a Ravens defense. And that's how you perform. What else is there to say? It's the worst thing you could do. I could continue to talk about you being disgraceful and call you frauds, but I want you to sit with that. You claim to be a Ravens defense and you wear the colors. And yet you're out there spitting on the legacy that Hall of Famers worked hard to establish here. 295-plus yard touchdown drives in our house on prime time with the black uniforms on. And you expect us to take you seriously. Y'all don't have an ounce of shame. There's no pride. There's no burning passion. There's nothing there, is it? You don't care. You just come in, you do your job, you get paid, you go home. You don't really value the colors you're representing. You see, whatever's happening with the offense, it can happen. And we can get on the offense because we got to talk about some of the things they did. But the offense, in all honesty, in Baltimore, if the offense is bad, we can live with it. We grew up with bad offense. So if the offense was having issues or having problems and they can't score or they were failing to execute, whatever it is, we can live with that. We can. But what we won't accept is terrible defense. Not this team. Not this franchise. Not this fan base. And yet here we sit with the Ravens' quote-unquote defense being as garbage as you can be. And I'm supposed to believe they're going to magically turn it around when it doesn't even seem like the players give much of a damn. Because if you did, you wouldn't be playing like hot garbage. You don't care. Your words mean nothing. Your actions are what tell us you care. And for you to perform like that, you don't care. And you're letting everybody in the fan base know you don't care. So thanks for letting us know. We can stop putting our faith in you because there's no point wasting our time on individuals that don't care. Zachary Orr, it is time to go. There's nothing else to say. I have been one of the few people that have done everything in my power to try to be as patient as possible with you and give you all the opportunities to grow, to improve, to adapt, to truly adjust to the defensive coordinator role. They were calling for your head early on last year. I did everything on this channel to sit back and try to quell some of that heat and saying, listen, it's his first year as a defensive coordinator. It's going to take time. Mike Macdonald wasn't magically great. Remember the Dolphins game? I tried so hard to defend you, to give you time, because you were just getting started. You're young. This is your first time as a defensive coordinator, and everybody deserves time to get adjusted to the role. But at some point, time runs out, and you either step up to the plate or move aside so somebody else can do that job. And buddy, it's time for you to step aside. You're not ready. You are not ready. And you are showcasing this with your play calling. The amount of times you were blitzing today and failing to get to the quarterback was hilarious. The fact that we want to play so much damn zone is hilarious. We are letting these receivers do whatever the hell they want. We don't press the receivers at the line of scrimmage. We don't play man coverage because apparently we don't trust our corners. I mean, you invested into the secondary so these corners can hold up one-on-one against these guys, but apparently we don't trust our corners to do that job. So we play all this zone, and we play soft coverage, and we let the receivers get a free release off the line of scrimmage. We don't press these receivers. We're not physical with these receivers at all. We let them run their route and get comfortable and let the quarterback put it right where he needs to put it. 2 times, I believe it was on the 90-yard drive where you saw, I believe it was on back-to-back third downs, or maybe it was a third down and then another first down play, but one went to Williams, the other went to St. Brown. It was literally a situation in which nobody pressed the receiver. He had ample time to run his route, get right into position, and Jared Goff just put the ball on the money. These are some of the things that are happening under the coverage of Zachary Orr's defense. But the most egregious thing, the most egregious asinine thing I saw was on a third down during one of those 2 95-plus yard drives. On a third down situation, I believe it was the second third down, Zachary Orr had rookie edge rusher Mike Green back up into coverage and covers tight end Sam Laporta one-on-one. Are you for real right now? Our defensive coordinator, I thought this was a joke. When I saw it, I really didn't believe this happened, but it really did. Our defensive coordinator on a third down situation, which, by the way, it's really funny watching him play so much zone because he's just blitzing everybody and he's not pressing these receivers, and they're playing so much damn soft coverage that it's just easy to be able to convert these third downs because you're not putting any real pressure on the receivers. You're not pressing them. Anyway, that's beside the point. On this third down situation, he really had Mike Green back up into coverage and go one-on-one with Sam Laporta. And we really thought that was going to result in a stop. That was the easiest first down you could have got. Mike Green, being the rookie here, has no idea what he's doing backing up into coverage and trying to cover a tight end. Man, Sam Laporta ran his route, was wide open, first down. It was like that all night. They couldn't stop the run. They couldn't stop the pass. They couldn't get to the quarterback. They couldn't make any stops consistently. They were disgraceful. And Zachary Orr's coverages continued to be garbage. And that's why in week 1, his defense gave up 41. And tonight, they gave up 38. It is time for him to go. They're not going to do anything significant with this guy here calling the plays. If you want to demote him to linebackers coach while you still quote unquote develop him, by all means, do what you got to do. Because we know this organization's not going to fire him. Actually changing things, Real change? He ain't seen real change in a decade. Real change. No. They're not firing him. They'd rather just demote him if they were to do so. But the reality of the situation is when your defensive coordinator is this poor and the offense is giving up this much points and your defense does nothing well and your schemes continue to get beat, realistically, you should get fired for that. But with Zachary Orr, he's still here. And he's probably not going anywhere. But, buddy, you are way out of your league. Every day that I think about this Ravens defense, I continue to weep internally because we let Mike McDonald walk out the door because we didn't want to move on to the next era. You had a perfect opportunity to make the transition to let Mike McDonald be the next head coach for this team. It would have been a great transition. And instead, you let him walk out the door and go to Seattle. And look at how Seattle's defense is looking. This defensive coordinator had Nnamdi Madubuike put up his best statistical season, which earned him his contract. He had Brandon Stevens looking like an all-pro who shut down Jamar Chase one-on-one in 2023. He had Marcus Williams playing at a Pro Bowl level with one good arm. That's what his defense did. The 2023 Ravens defense under Mike McDonald had the triple crown. They led the league in sacks. They led the league in takeaways. And they were the number one scoring defense in the National Football League. He did all of that. And we didn't do everything in our power to keep him here. And now he's doing his thing in Seattle. Meanwhile, this so-called defensive coordinator in Zachary Orr continues to have his defense play like hot trash, and he continues to look incompetent and seems like he has no idea what he's doing out there. That's what we've become defensively. This is so embarrassing. I gotta talk about the offense, and in all honesty, there's issues and nitpicking with the offense, but honestly, who the hell cares? Who the hell cares right now when it comes to the offense? This so-called Ravens defense, they're humiliating everybody. They're embarrassing themselves. They're embarrassing the fan base. They're embarrassing the organization. They're embarrassing the history of this franchise. Their predecessors are watching this in shame and disgust. You call yourself a Ravens defense? Please do me a favor. Take off those jerseys. Please, take off those jerseys. Just do that. If you're not going to play like a Raven, and you're going to continue to embarrass the Raven, the name of the Raven, and the shield, the symbol of this franchise, which is defense, if you're going to continue to embarrass, you can do us a favor and just leave. Please. Put the jerseys down. Don't even step foot on that field. I'm dead serious, man. There's no point in you guys stepping foot on the field knowing you're not going to do anything. If you're going to continue to embarrass this franchise, a franchise that was built on defense, do us a favor. Don't even step foot on the field. Just go collect your check. It's fine. You showed up to the game. You did your job. We'll pretend you were out there. We'll just go put some randos that actually want to try to play football. I'd rather see some randos in the stands try to tackle these guys than watch you guys, with all the talent in the world, continue to embarrass this team. What's the point in even wearing those colors? What's the point in wearing the jersey when you can't even... I'm just so disgusted, man. I grew up when the Ravens defense was the Ravens defense. And I have to sit here in this era with all the talent in the world and watch a Ravens defense consistently give up 30 plus points. It's so humiliating to watch this. It's a joke. It's an embarrassment. It's a disgrace to the franchise. I have zero respect for this defense. I have no faith. I have no belief. I have no confidence that these guys will do anything significant. And you know the worst part about this? I'm not the only one that feels like this. A majority of the fan base feels like this. because we can deal with bad offense. We can't accept bad defense in Baltimore. No. We saw greatness. We saw greatness. We saw real defense being played in Baltimore. So we're not going to accept whatever trash you're trying to put out there. Because what you're putting out there is trash, which is supposed to be beneath you, because the level of talent that you have in that defense should allow you guys to work as a unit. You should be dominating teams. You should be really dominating with the amount of talent you have. And instead you play like hot trash. Please just stop embarrassing the franchise. I'm begging you. Please stop embarrassing this franchise. Stop embarrassing the Shield. If you don't want to play, don't play. You'll get paid either way. You're millionaires. If you don't care, don't step foot on the field. If you're going to play like hot garbage, do us a favor and just don't show up to the game. Please. Please. This is a whole video where we have to talk about everything, but I can't even focus. Like tonight, the offense, I don't really care what happened. Derrick Henry fumbled the ball, 3 fumbles in 3 games. That's horrible. You can argue those fumbles played a major role in us losing the 2 games we have. This is unacceptable from him. He is a future Hall of Fame running back. He expects perfection for himself and greatness for himself. We expect him to be better. He has to be better. The offensive line continues to be garbage. The offensive line continues to struggle against pressure. The offensive line cannot handle pressure at all, and the offensive line stinks at pass protection. And it's showcased tonight, and that remains to be a problem. Have fixed this offensive line. He did not do so. This is what we have to deal with. Lamar Jackson. Oh, my only gripe with Lamar today is the fact that he held onto the ball a little bit too long. Some of those sacks were on him because he held onto the ball too long. Now, I understand why he did. I truly understand. When you've got a quote-unquote Ravens defense out there playing like hot garbage and your offensive line is not protecting you and you feel like you got to make a play every single down, you're going to hold on to the ball. Lamar has never really thrown the ball away like that. In fact, I think he has the lowest attempts in terms of throwing the ball away of any quarterback in the league. Lamar just doesn't throw the ball away. It's part of what makes him him. I mean, 9 times out of 10, he's gonna make a big play out of that. But the 1 time out of 10 he doesn't make a big play, it's gonna harm the team. Now, I'm not really saying Lamar Jackson should always just throw the ball away when nothing's open. My thing is, he should throw it away when there's absolutely nothing left. If you're standing in the pocket for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seconds and nothing's open and there's no lane for you to take off or even try to extend this, throw the ball away, live to play another down. That's it. Other than that, I don't really have anything to say about Lamar in this game. He didn't turn the ball over. Even though he had some turnover-worthy plays, it didn't result in a turnover, so it is what it is. He didn't turn the ball over. He completed, 77% of his passes. So he completed over 70% of his passes. He didn't turn the ball over. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, even though one of those was a garbage time touchdown, so I don't really count that, but stats are stats, whatever. Passer rating of 148. I mean, technically, from a statistical standpoint, Lamar did nothing wrong. And even from the game standpoint, Lamar wasn't the reason why this team lost. It was more on the defense, but still, the quarterback has to get some blame. And again, him holding onto the ball for too long is a bit of an issue. So, yeah, that's where I really am. But other than that, with the offense, I don't have much else to say. Oh, yeah, Todd Monken. You need to stop getting cute with the play calling. You really need to stop getting cute with the play calling. Why are you taking the ball out of Lamar's hands consistently? What are you doing? You have Lamar toss it to Derrick Henry and had Derrick Henry try to get a touchdown to, I think, Tyler Wallace. It was Tyler Wallace, I believe so. And it was a poor decision, a poor throw that nearly got picked off. Why are we trying to get cute with the play calling when that's never been our specials? It's never been our expertise. It's never been our specialty. It's never been our expertise. And yet we're out here trying to run these type of weird trick plays. Not working. It's clearly not working. And you need to stop being cute with the play calling. Same when you're at the goal line. I don't know what happened on that goal line stand. This is just unacceptable. And you guys need to do better. But again, you're not really at fault for what happened tonight. we just have to hold everybody accountable because this is supposed to be a team, even though this Ravens team is not really a team because they don't play like a team. But yeah, we did have to ultimately talk about the offense because it's not like the offense was perfect out there. They made some mistakes. We really didn't look to get our skill position players going, and it ultimately kind of hurt us in this case because we didn't really get Zay Flowers involved, who's our best receiver. It just wasn't the best of outings. We still put up points, and they're not really the reason we lost, but still, it could be better. And I think execution is something that needs to continue to be worked on, which I would love to see happen. But with the Ravens, I don't expect anything from these guys anymore. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the offense. Back to the defense. Zachary Orr needs to go, like I've been saying. He's just not it. He's not. If the Ravens were actually serious about contending, which at this point I don't think any Ravens fan is even thinking or expecting or believing the Ravens are going to do anything in terms of contention. I think many of us have already accepted what the Ravens are and have kind of moved on past talking about these Super Bowl talks. It's more so let's just enjoy football since it's here. And once football's gone and we can't watch these guys play, we just move on to something else. But no one has any actual real expectations for this team anymore. They've shattered any hopes and dreams any Ravens fan may have had of this team being something special, being something unique, being something different, being something truly, truly great, which is something that truly great in all aspects, not just being great in the regular season, being great in the playoffs, which is something that this team has not been able to do in this era. So, yeah, it is what it is at the end of the day. We kind of know what the Ravens are in this aspect, but more so than that, the defense, they're just embarrassing everybody. And Zachary Orr needs to go. If this team was really serious about competing, they would fire Zachary Orr. Not demote him, they would fire Zachary Orr. If you're serious about winning, you would fire this defensive coordinator because it has not worked out. But the problem is the Ravens are an incompetent football team that refuses to take accountability. Which leads me to the main man himself, John Harbaugh. In week 1, I called this man a parasite on the franchise and said that we were never going to win as long as this guy continues to remain as the head coach. He got his Doc Rivers ring back in 2012 and has proceeded to do nothing since. He is essentially the Doc Rivers of the NFL, excuse me. I was about to say NBA, but yeah, he is the Doc Rivers of the NFL. He got his ring with a group of Hall of Famers over a decade ago, and he's riding that ring. How many times do people bring up, oh, he's a Super Bowl winning head coach, he won that Super Bowl? Yeah, 12 years ago with the Hall of Fame defense. As if he didn't have Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, and Terrell Suggs for years and wasted them. But that's beside the point. So yeah, the Doc Rivers of the NFL, or the parasite if you want to go with that, continues to strike again. This is happening on his watch, and people want to continue to ignore that. They always want to sit back and talk about the players. We've just spent 10 minutes addressing the players. They all have been disappointing defensively, and we call them out every game. But here's the thing that people just seem to want to ignore. When the players aren't doing their jobs, it's on them on a game-to-game basis. However, when they are consistently failing to do their job and they're stinking up the joint, at that point you have to look at the coach because you now have to look at what are they doing to get this fixed? What are they doing to get this corrected? You start looking at those coordinators when it's happening offensively and defensively. And when it continues to be a problem past that, and the coordinators are still stinking up the joint, and the offenses or the defenses are still not doing their job, then you have to look at the head coach and wonder, what is he doing? Is he holding these guys accountable? Is he part of holding himself accountable because this is happening under his leadership? Is he making the proper changes that need to be made, even if that means the coordinator has to be fired? Is he doing what he needs to do as a head coach to make sure his team is playing at the highest of levels that they can and winning games that they should be able to win with their level of talent? Those are the things you ask when it comes to things not going well and who should be blamed and what should happen if it becomes a consistent thing. In Baltimore, this has been a consistent thing under John Harbaugh. This is an undisciplined unit, a highly undisciplined unit that never shows up in the biggest moments, specifically in the playoffs, and can't seem to execute consistently in the biggest moments of the games, specifically in the playoffs. John Harbaugh, this is happening under his watch. He's letting this happen. Zachary Orr, his incompetence is costing the team games, and he continues to let it happen. The defense is hot garbage with all that talent, and he is still letting this happen on his watch and not making the proper assessments, adjustments, whatever that means in terms of improving or whatever is needed, not whatever that means. See, I'm a bit tired. It's 2 a.m. and the Ravens have pissed me off. But in terms of making the adjustment, whatever is needed from the head coach, in terms of getting these guys back on track. He's still a leader of this team. And yet I don't really see these guys rally behind Harbaugh like that. Have they been rallying? Not this year. I don't know how much they were rallying behind Harbaugh last year. I mean, I question your leadership skills when your defensive coordinator is incompetent and he's doing that consistently and you're not doing anything about it. I question your leadership when your offensive line continues to be a problem and you still continue to leave guys out there without making any sort of adjustments. I question your leadership when you have a prime weapon on the sidelines that would be great to be a perfect 1-2 combo to Derrick Henry, and you willingly choose to not have him activated. It's these decisions that just continue to pile up with John Harbaugh. A John Harbaugh-led team in this era is never going to win anything significant. The sooner people wake up and understand that, the better off we'll be. Unfortunately, John Harbaugh is not going anywhere. He's besties with Eric DaCosta, who's his neighbor, by the way. And he has an owner that couldn't give a damn about winning a Super Bowl. Our owner doesn't care. He doesn't. You're not going to convince me he cares about winning a Super Bowl. And he still has this man, John Harbaugh, employed. Because with the amount of talent this dude has wasted and squandered, and the amount of disappointments and choking performances and disappointing performances and horrible moments in the playoffs, all of this is happening under his leadership. And he hasn't even questioned that. Instead, you've given him an extension. He doesn't care. The Ravens have 2 rings. He's rich. They're at this. They're one of the most prominent, recent franchises here in terms of success. They keep winning. You've got a superstar in Lamar Jackson. The attention all comes to Baltimore. He's making money. He doesn't care about winning. He doesn't. Them 2 rings already established him as an owner. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. Even though the first one wasn't with him. The second one was. But still. He got his ring. He don't care. He don't care. He's showing he clearly doesn't care about winning a Super Bowl. He's just about making money. Because if he really cared, John Harbaugh would have been gone. You would have brought in a new coach with a different culture, new leadership that would whip these dudes into shape and hold these guys accountable. But you're not going to do that. You've got a head coach that can't hold himself accountable and will just point the fingers to other guys. Harbaugh has never held himself accountable. How often do you get to watch this dude go up to the podium and say, you know what, today this is on me, guys. I didn't have the team ready to go. This is, as a head coach, I take full responsibility for that. That was a horrible defensive performance. This is on me. When have you ever seen Harbaugh do something like that? And how often have you seen him do that? You don't really see that. It's just the same boring, robotic, generic answers from him. And it continues to be the case. And nothing's going to change in that aspect. It just continues to be an issue. So you have the incompetent defensive coordinator in Zachary Orr. He's actively stinking up the game. His defense is actively blowing this game. And you, as the head coach and John Harbaugh, proceed to do absolutely nothing. And we're supposed to believe this team's going to win anything significant. Stop it. Nobody's deluding themselves. Everyone's woken up. They know what you are now. And as long as you, John Harbaugh, remain on this team, and as long as Zachary Orr remains on this team, we're not getting to the promised land. We're not. We'll fight to survive. We'll claw our way to the playoffs potentially, but we will fall short the way we do every single year under John Harbaugh's leadership. Because nothing changes. You don't change. You don't grow. You don't adapt. You don't improve. You remain the same. You also don't take accountability. So it is what it is when it comes to that. I can't expect anything more from this team when they're led by a head coach like that. You're just not going to win. And I hate to say this, but Nick Wright is correct. Man, clearly stated it, man. The book should, he personally said he's closing the book. And I agree. I think the book should be closed. But he sat back and said the book is officially closed on the Lamar Jackson, John Harbaugh duo. It's just not going to happen with these guys together. It's not. And clearly Lamar's not going anywhere. So that means somebody has to be going somewhere. Unfortunately, that's never going to happen, so we don't even have to pretend that it will be. This is who the Ravens are. This is what they want to be. They don't care. So when we take a look at this game overall, what happens? Well, you see a defense that gives up 224 yards rushing. You see a defense that gives up not one, but two 95-yard touchdown drives. You see a defense that can't get to the quarterback once, 0 sacks in the game. You get a defense that can't make a stop. Every time the Lions needed to convert on third down, they do it. Meanwhile, you've got the same tired, old, decrepit, disgusting, incompetent level schemes by Zachary Orr, and it's clearly not working. But will anything change? No. Despite me spending all this time talking about the defense being embarrassing and the coaching staff and all this other stuff, nothing will change because this is who the Baltimore Ravens are. They're not a team. They are a collective group of individuals that can't seem to get on the right page and work together as a unit. They may consider themselves a football team. They may even wear the colors. But that defense is not claimed by Baltimore. The Ravens flock doesn't claim that defense. I don't care what you have on that defense. We don't claim them here. Because we could deal with bad offense. We can't deal with bad defense. And we're not even going to try to claim you. You guys are a disgrace. You guys are a joke. You guys are incompetent. And it doesn't seem like you really care. And for the ones that do care, I'm so sorry you got to go through this. The ones that truly care and leave it out there, I really do feel bad for you. Because you got to be part of this sorry excuse of a Ravens defense. And people like me and all the other fans are throwing hatred towards you right now because we're disgusted by what we're seeing. How do we wrap this game up? Defense couldn't stop the run. Defense couldn't stop the pass. Defense couldn't get to the quarterback. Defense did a terrible job in coverage. Defense gave up 295-plus yard drives. Defense looked like complete car. I almost said something I didn't want to say. They looked like complete garbage. I was about to take it one step too far, and I'm trying to be as professional as possible. So I'm not going to say what I was going to say. They look like complete crap. Offensively, offensive line is still a problem. They can't hold. Play calling was getting a bit too cute. And Lamar Jackson was holding onto the ball a little bit too long, which led to some of those sacks. No one's really blaming the offense and saying they're the reason because if the offense didn't show up, we would have really gotten blown out. But the offense did have some of their mistakes, which they should be able to fix. And then Derrick Henry fumbling, of course, which is something he himself has to work on because if he keeps fumbling, it's going to continue to cost the Ravens football games. So the offense, they have a few things they have to tweak, but ultimately that offensive line is an issue, and they're not going to win a Super Bowl with that offensive line looking the way they're looking and playing the way they're playing. But of course, there's nothing we could do about that because this is the hole they dug for themselves. They didn't invest in the offensive line, and this is what they're going to get. So Lamar is going to have to try to figure out how to win consistently behind that offensive line, which is going to be a complete nightmare. And the Ravens offense is going to be dealing with some trouble because every time a defense decides to send pressure and blitz these guys, they fold like graham crackers. They can't handle pressure to save their lives, and it's clear as day. They can send a 3-man rush and a 4-man rush. If they generate pressure, that offensive line folds like a graham cracker, and there's nothing we can do about that. So there's issues on the offense, and I'm pretty sure we'll go more into this as the week goes on, and we continue to talk about the Ravens. But yeah, the offensive line is an issue that needs to be addressed, but they failed to do so, so this is what we're working with. But the defense, man, if you want to begin to start to redeem yourself in the eyes of the city of Baltimore, in the eyes of the fan base, the organization, Ravens flock as a whole, if you want to begin to redeem yourself in the eyes of your own predecessors, you would start by firing Zach Orr, getting someone in that knows what they're doing, and coming out here and responding. Seriously responding against some of these top-tier teams. But unfortunately, it is what it is. Nothing's going to change. Harbaugh is going to say same generic answers, and we're just going to have to live with it. Nothing we can do there. So it is what it is, guys. Just have to deal with it. With that being said, I have been here for 45 minutes rambling. I shouldn't be rambling for 45 minutes. Yet here I am. I'm not posting this now. I'm posting this in the morning. I'm going to sleep after this. But this is all I got to say. The Ravens find a way to humiliate themselves on national television, and the defense continues to be more and more of a joke as their predecessors continue to weep because this sorry, disgusting, decrepit, pathetic excuse of a Ravens defense continues to shame themselves, embarrass their fan base, embarrass the organization, embarrass their predecessors. They're garbage. They have all the talent in the world. Arguably the most talented secondary in the league, arguably the most talented defensive roster in the league. Although I don't agree with that, people would say that Philadelphia has a more talented roster and Detroit has a more talented roster than us, in my opinion. But we're in the conversation. So you have one of the most talented rosters, especially one of the most talented rosters on the defensive side, and you guys can't seem to play like a unit. That's why I say the Baltimore Ravens are not a football team. They are a collective group of talented individuals that have no idea how to work together as a unit and communicate in order to win and execute in these big moments. They don't know how to do it. They don't. So as long as that defense remains to be the same under Zachary Orr being here, they will continue to piss themselves. They will continue to lose games like this. They'll continue to give up a lot of points, and nothing's going to change there. So it is what it is. With that being said, that is all I've got. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. This was definitely a long one because we had a lot of things to get out, but it is what it is. The Ravens, they're just going to continue to be the Ravens. And whatever that means in this era of football is, whatever that means is just something we're going to have to experience and deal with. This team is far from winning anything significant, and I would not put any money on them doing anything in January. But it's still a long season. I guess we'll see what happens. Maybe that major change is coming, but I doubt it. I have no hope, faith, or belief in this team at this point. The organization has shown us they are loyal to John Harbaugh, and they don't have the guts to fire him or Zachary Orr. So we're just dealing with whatever we're dealing with. It is what it is. With that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm out of here. I'm going to go get some sleep finally. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Be sure to stay safe, and peace out.